unpacking some absolutely fascinating data from Dr. Waterling on what actually dictates your health and your longevity once you hit that half-century mark. If you've ever found yourself wondering why some folks seem to almost age in reverse, while others just decline so rapidly, well, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to look closely at the specific biological mechanisms and, honestly, the everyday lifestyle choices that truly determine your health span. To really get our heads around this, I want you to picture two neighbors. They're from the exact same neighborhood, grew up in super similar environments, basically lived parallel lives. But here's the shocking contrast. One neighbor is incredibly vibrant. I mean, they're traveling, fully active at 72. Meanwhile, the other neighbor, they're completely overwhelmed by medical issues, restricted by daily pain, and just drowning in terrible lab results at only 64. So it's a staggering 8-year difference in chronological age, sure, but a massive, literally life-altering gap in biological age and overall quality of life. Now, looking at those two neighbors, you might naturally assume, hey, the struggling neighbor probably just drew a bad genetic hand, right? It's so incredibly easy for us to blame our family tree the second our health starts to slip. But the crucial takeaway here is that their fate was not predetermined by their genes. The honest truth, the difference isn't luck and it isn't DNA. It's something much more profound and, incredibly, it's entirely within your control. Which brings us to Section 1, the genetic longevity myth. We've spent decades assuming our DNA was this inescapable blueprint for our later years, but the medical data we're looking at today completely shatters that whole misconception. Because here is the actual reality. Genetics, they control at most 25% of how long you live. I really want that to sink in for a second. Just 25%. That leaves a massive 75% of the equation entirely in your hands, completely dictated by the daily lifestyle choices you make. Honestly, most people go through their whole lives having absolutely no idea they hold this much immense power over their own aging process. And that brings us to a very critical biological milestone, age 50. According to the data, this is the precise moment where your proactive lifestyle choices officially snatch the driver's seat away from your genetic background. In your 20s and 30s, youth can kind of mask the effects of bad habits, right? But after 50, your physical resilience depends heavily on the groundwork you are laying down every single day. So how exactly do we optimize that massive chunk we control? Section 2, combating age-related muscle loss. It really all starts with your physical foundation and the battle to retain your strength as you age. To protect that physical foundation, we absolutely have to talk about sarcopenia. Basically, this is the medical term for the natural age-related loss of muscle mass, strength, and physical function. And we can't ignore this, because allowing sarcopenia to progress unchecked is, without a doubt, the fastest, most direct route to losing your independence. It's the core reason why a simple, everyday stumble can turn into a devastating, life-altering injury for an older adult. And this is exactly why a sedentary lifestyle is so incredibly dangerous. Look, let's be honest. Your couch is not your friend here. Sitting for prolonged periods weakens your leg muscles first. And your legs, they are the absolute pillars of your mobility. Once those start to weaken, it kicks the progression of sarcopenia right into overdrive. This immediately decreases your overall mobility and drastically increases your fall risk. You literally have to keep moving to constantly signal to your body, hey, I still need this muscle tissue. Moving right along to Section 3, protecting your vital organs. Because beyond your skeletal structure, your internal engine, specifically your vital organs and your gut, requires a very specific dietary framework if you actually want to avoid the onset of chronic disease. The dietary contrast here is just crystal clear. Harmful habits like eating highly processed foods and living a sedentary lifestyle, they actively harm your kidneys and your colon. Instead, swapping out all that processed junk for real focus on blood sugar control is absolutely vital for preventing type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. Think of it this way. Your organs filter literally everything you consume. So your diet, it directly dictates their lifespan. And we don't even have to guess if this framework actually works. When we look at blue zones, those unique areas across the globe that boast the highest concentrations of centenarians, they prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that avoiding processed food is the key to keeping your colon and kidneys functioning perfectly. These people aren't utilizing crazy, expensive biohacks. Nope. They are relying on whole foods and daily natural movement to preserve their organ health for a full century. Now for Section 4, sleep, stress, and cortisol. You can have the absolute perfect diet and a flawless exercise routine, but if you ignore these next elements, you are fighting a losing battle, for sure. These invisible threats build into a highly dangerous cycle.
Chronic high daily stress triggers this massive flood of the hormone cortisol right into your system. And that elevated cortisol, it acts like a blaring alarm bell that absolutely destroys your sleep quality. Then, without that deep, restorative sleep, your body enters a state of accelerated cellular aging. It's this vicious chain reaction where stress literally speeds up the clock on your very cells.
So, the main takeaway here is this. Prioritizing deep, restorative sleep isn't some luxury, and it isn't just about having enough energy to get through your workday. It is a non negotiable longevity tool that literally repairs your body overnight. While you sleep, your brain is actually clearing out metabolic waste, and your cellular damage is being repaired. If you cut your sleep short, you're actively skipping your body's most important daily maintenance routine. Finally, Section 5 Essential Preventative Health Maintenance. Surviving and thriving after 50 requires a major shift in how you view your medical care. You really have to stop guessing about your internal health based on how you just happen to feel today and start actually measuring it proactively. Committing to healthy habits over 50 means utilizing a proactive maintenance checklist. You absolutely must schedule annual blood tests to accurately monitor your cholesterol levels, check for things like a vitamin D deficiency, and carefully track your fasting blood sugar. I mean, you wouldn't drive a car for 50 years without ever looking at the dashboard gauges, right? Well, you simply cannot navigate your health span without looking at your own internal data. Getting that data is so critical because severe issues like a vitamin D deficiency or high cholesterol, they often present with zero early warning signs. They are completely silent threats. You literally will not feel them until they've already caused significant structural harm to your cardiovascular system or your bones. Testing proactively is the only guaranteed way to catch them while they're still easily fixable. Which brings us to the ultimate question we have to ask ourselves as we wrap up this explainer. If roughly 75 to 80% of your aging process is entirely in your hands, what empowering choices are you going to make today? Knowing that your DNA isn't your destiny, are you going to prioritize your sleep, get moving to protect those muscles, and finally schedule that blood test? The knowledge is right here in front of you, but the action? Well, that is entirely up to you. Ensure you're the neighbor thriving at 72, not the one wishing they had started sooner.